So good morning. My name is Nicole Irizarry. I'm a physical therapist and I've been a PT for 16 years, which is crazy. I'm very happy to be here today as always. And if this is your first class with me by chance, please know that I worked on the USC CF team for 6 years, loved it. Now I work primarily in pediatrics, but I still work with any person with CF whenever I can. If you were here a few minutes ago, I was saying the format of today's class will be a little bit different than how I normally do things because this year we're really trying to go for more movement. What can you do with me? And so, or with an eyes of a physical therapist on you. And so I am going to be showing a few PowerPoint slides and I will have a list of the exercises, but there's going to be a portion of where I'm just chatting with you. And so, the goal of today, one of them will be to have you do exercise. And so that includes stretches and strengthening, mostly body weight exercise. And it's going to be about 30 minutes of movement in total when you do it on your own. When we're doing it in a big class like this, I expect it to take a little bit longer. But that's kind of the goal for today. So you are more than welcome to leave your cameras off. The benefit of maybe turning your camera on is that if you have a question about how you're moving your body, then I can see it and give you the cues on how to improve, right? Like we know at gyms, there's mirrors and you use the mirrors to improve your form. Some people use the mirrors to check themselves out, but teach their own and videotape themselves these days. But the purpose of having your cameras on would be for me to help you. And so that being said, I'm going to share my screen with you. So what are the recommended exercises and stretches from a physical therapist point of view as somebody who has treated people from the CF community for some time now? So some housekeeping things, we always do this. Please mute your microphone. You can use the chat feature to ask me questions. I will probably look at it while I'm speaking, but if it's a question that can wait until the end, I might wait. If you can't see something, or if you have a question that you feel like you want to ask me, just go ahead and unmute yourself and talk to me. We're all friends here. So for privacy, just keep in mind this isn't HIPAA protected. So if you want to change your name or turn your camera off, feel free to do that. And as always, we want to thank all of our sponsors for being able to put this class together. Okay, so we only have 4 objectives today, and that's going to be let's address the areas of the body that are typically weak or I feel like are really important to have strong for persons with cystic fibrosis. And I'm going to describe the CDC recommendations for exercise. You may have heard them before, and it's important for us to know what should we be doing. And this is generally going to be for adults. And we're not going to be doing high intensity stuff today. This is going to be basic stuff you can do at your home, and it's basic, but it's really good. Like after I think being in the pandemic, a lot of us have learned that we don't need to go to the gym. Not that everybody who owns a gym would appreciate me saying that, but there's also seasons in your life for when you're going to want to be at a gym, you're going to want to take classes, and you're going to want to work out at home. Everything changes. So if you're in a place where you're kind of in a rut and you need to get back into something, this is a good opportunity. So I'm going to describe how reps and sets are determined. So how do we come up with this? And what does the science guide us to do? And there's going to be some flexibility in what you can do. And that may be frustrating for some people because we say, go ahead and do 6 to 8, go ahead and do 10 to 30. But I hope to make it a little bit less ambiguous today. And then I would love it if you walk away from today with an easy plan to use from your home, on vacation, in the office, whatever you're doing to try to keep your health at an optimal level. So here's my little disclaimer. This presentation is not physical therapy treatment, but education, and it's for demonstration purposes. This information should not be used to self-diagnose or replace seeing a physician. And by participating to agree, you hold me harmless and my little tiny business of one person for any losses or injuries or damages. So just the legal stuff. So here we go. How hard are you working? That's one of the challenges, is what intensity do I work out at? And remember, this is a general course, class, presentation. Can you tell that I just got done finishing teaching for USC for 11 weeks? So I'm used to teaching my students. Lingo's still there. But how hard are you working? This is really important because we need to understand how hard we can push ourselves when we have something that maybe scares us. Do we have shortness of breath more easier than some other people if we have CF, right? So you can use this if you want to take a screenshot of it, if you want to look it up on your own. It's called the Modified Borg Scale. It's a scale to understand your rate of perceived exertion. So at rest, I would ask you, how hard are you working right now on this scale? And most of you would say, I'm not working at all. I'm exerting no effort. So that's a 0. The exercise range that I want you to shoot for is a 3. That doesn't mean you can't go to a strong effort, and that doesn't mean that you can't do a light effort. It just means let's find a safe place where we can all come together and work. So when you are exercising and doing walking or riding a bike or anything similar that's more aerobic, you can use this as well. Okay, so you can use this for reps and sets, and you can use this for gentle exercise. Excuse me, you can use this for a walking program as well. So if the CDC's recommendations is for all of us to exercise at 150 minutes per week of exercise, of aerobic training, how do we break that down? Because 150 sounds like a lot. It's shorter than a movie, right? Or some movies. So it breaks down to 30 minutes, 5 days a week of cardio, or 22 to 23 minutes a day, which I always like to say is like going for a walk after a meal, going for a walk after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. We know that if we do that, we typically feel better, our digestion is better, and we're getting that impact, which is really important for bone health. So here we go. We're going to go straight into some exercise. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do reps and sets. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So how do we come up with this reps and sets? What do we do? So we do like an exercise test where we see how much somebody can lift, and we come up with this equation. But really what you need to know is that you can use 2 sets of 10 and 3 sets of 10 to get started. Usually high reps and low weight is going to be building like that light muscle tone that most of us are familiar with. And going for heavier weight, we're looking for much more strength benefits. So heavier weight, lower reps. So if you are somebody who is looking to put on a lot of muscle, that's great. And I would just recommend that maybe you have a session or 2 in person with a trainer or somebody, a physical therapist, so that they can just guide you through it, because the higher weight you go up, the easier it is to have an injury. And we definitely don't want that. So if our goal is to build strength, you can use body weight, right? It's free. You can have some weights. It's wonderful. You can also use resistance. So resistance is when we think about some of those stretchy bands that maybe that you purchased or that you've used when you've been admitted to the hospital. But the goal is for you to be challenged and fatigued when you're done with exercising a particular area of your body. However, this is one of the most important things. When your form falls apart and you're not doing the exercise correctly, meaning that you're not holding your posture, you're starting to compensate and do something funky, you're done. You should stop, because that's when you put yourself at risk for injury. So being really aware of your body is important. So using mirrors is absolutely fine if you're doing it by yourself at home. Okay, there's no problem with you doing that. All right. So today we're going to focus on 2 sets. So sets would be how many repetitions or how many times I do something. So today we're going to do 10 repetitions and we're going to do it 2 times. And you can absolutely do it 3 times on your own, even if you get through 1 today, because that's where you are. Hey, it's a starting place. For our stretches, we need to make sure that we're holding them for 1 minute for the muscle to change length. Now, it can be 20 seconds 3 times, or it can be 30 seconds twice, and it can be a minute the whole time. But again, you want to make sure that you are maintaining good form. So here is a list of the exercises we're going to do. Funny enough, we have 7 exercises that I have written for you, and we have 7 stretches. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, you can, if that's helpful for you. I can go ahead and send this out as a PDF along with the posture class that we did a few weeks ago. So that way you can have it to reference, because going back and watching the course may not necessarily be what you want to do. And I realized as I was prepping that I didn't send out the last one. So it's on my to-do list. I have a list of the exercises here, and I'm going to bring up the actual videos. So just give me 1 second. So the first one that we're going to do is the heel drop. Now, the heel drop is like a heel raise. However, you're coming down with a lot of force to build bone. We know that if you have cystic fibrosis, your chances of having osteopenia or osteoporosis, so loss of bone, is present. We also know that if we're over a certain age, that happens too, right? So why not go ahead and let's address it? Go ahead and stand up. You're going to see that when I have this video going, that I use the wall, because we're always thinking safety. So I want to make sure that you recognize that it's important. So I'm holding onto the wall and I'm really coming down hard to really get that bounce. So if you could, after you watch this, go ahead and do 2 sets of 10 right where you are. And if you don't have shoes on, please go put them on. I want you to have shoes on. So I'm looking at my stopwatch. Let's go ahead and make sure that I'm giving everybody time. So then I take my hands off the wall. If you don't need that extra balance support, awesome. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit more time as I get the next video ready. Okay, so we're going to get ready for the next exercise, which is called wall angels. Now, you will see me smile in this video because it's hard. It's a really hard exercise to do. And if I'm honest, I haven't been doing it enough lately. So if you find it really hard, and if anything hurts today or feels uncomfortable, I want you to stop, okay? Hopefully you can see that. My back is up against the wall. Go ahead and watch it first. You notice, hopefully, that I scooted my heels all the way up against the wall, okay? So that's a very important component of the exercise. So my head's against the wall. I'm smiling because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hard. My forearms, or the back of my forearms, are against the wall, and I am going up and down as best as I can. So I want you to try for 10, and I want you to do it nice and slow. And I'm going to start the video again so you can see it. So okay, so we're not going to do 2 sets of 10 on this one. We're only going to do 10. So if you haven't finished, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a couple extra seconds to go ahead and do that while I queue up the next video, okay? So the next one will require a chair. So the challenge with this next exercise is that, first of all, I have to find it, is if you don't use, excuse me, if you use a chair with wheels on it, you're at a higher risk for falling, which we never want. So I'm always going to say, please have a chair that doesn't have wheels on it so that you're nice and safe. So I am moving some things around and opening up the folder that I wanted. So therefore things are much easier for me to find. Okay. So a sit to stand is a squat. But with sit to stands, you don't have to worry about your form as much because it's a very natural way of moving. Your feet should be shoulder width apart or a little bit more than that. And notice that I'm trying to go down slow. We want that control on the way down to really work on the eccentric phase of movement, which is the hardest way for us to move our body. We're controlling all of our body weight in this exercise as we come down. So standing all the way up and going all the way down. If you've already done 10, great. If you want to do your second set, go ahead and get started. And something that I'm forgetting to say is that I'd really like everybody to take 30 seconds to a minute in between these exercises when you're doing them on your own. For today, with the way that technology is working, with me having one screen and fiddling around with things, you may have a little bit extra time in between. Okay, so that's our sit to stand. And the next one is a modified plank. Don't get scared. I'm going to show you technically three ways to do it before I actually have you do it on your own. That is right, Kathy. Sit to stand is crucial to be ready for transplant. It is one of the most important things because people can walk after transplant, but if they can't get out of a chair, you don't get to go home. And so doing sit to stand without your hands, even if you need to build that chair up with a pillow, is really important, okay? So the doctors aren't gonna make you get up out of a chair without using your hands to be able to leave the hospital, but we know as the PTs getting you ready for transplant, it is the best thing to do to really challenge your legs. Thank you for sharing that, Kathy. So, all right. So modified plank, let me get that queued up. So you just need to be at a wall. So here is, don't do it yet, just watch. So you notice that I was a far enough distance away from the wall, and then I lean forward. My hands are in line with my shoulders. Now watch what I do. I realize I'm up on my toes, and I was like, come down, drop your heels. That's a really important thing for the people in my class to see because you might do it automatically. You're stretching forward, so you pop up on your toes sometimes. And one thing that's really important that I do, and I totally take it for granted, is I activate my abs. So if you're thinking, what does that mean? You usually hear PTs and some fitness professionals say, bring your belly button in a tiny bit. And so we're talking like a 1/4 inch. Okay, so it's a really small movement and it's just to engage everything. That should not interfere with your breathing. Okay, so if you find that to be challenging, send me an email, which I will put in, remind me at the end of class to put it in the chat, and then I can help guide you through it. So let me show you the video one more time. Hands against the wall. If you're thinking this is the one that I want to do, go ahead and go for it. You're going to hold the position for 30 seconds. And it may not look difficult, but believe me, things are working. So I'm going to set my timer for 30 seconds to give you time. Drop those heels down if they're up. Keep those abs engaged. Relax your shoulders down. Nice, gentle breathing. So we're at 15 seconds. If you're done, that's okay. If you can hang in there for the next 30 seconds, keep doing it. Remember that the class is designed to kind of meet a lot of people at their different fitness levels. So you just reached your 30 seconds. Okay, so if that was really easy for you and you want to try something more difficult, we can definitely do that. So I'm going to let it run. So this is really tough. If you're thinking, no way, I can't do that, that's okay. Because I'm going to go back and show you how to progress from the wall to the next challenge or in the middle position. So it's just arms, at the top of a push-up right here. Oh, don't go down on your arms. I should have held it a lot longer, so I apologize, guys. All right, so that's the top of the push-up, okay? So this is where you can hold your plank so that you're getting more challenge instead of being at the wall. All right, so we're gonna get down onto the floor next, and we're gonna be in the hands and knees position. All right, so I'm in the hands and knees position and I am alternating lifting one hand to shoulder level. What's really important to notice here is my thumb is pointing up. So that is really important for shoulder. So some people suffer from shoulder impingement where the top of your humerus is hitting the top of your clavicle. And when we point our thumb up, it helps reduce that. Now, the other thing that you're not seeing is I'm keeping my abs tight and I'm not shifting my movement. And so I'm going to start the video over again. And I want you to just watch to notice that I'm not shifting from side to side. I'm really focusing on straightening one arm and keeping my back and my knees and my hips from moving. And I'm doing that by contracting my abs. So gently bringing that belly button in. So I know that with the way that the morning is flowing, I'm maybe getting a little bit away from doing the 2 sets of 10. So I want to give you the opportunity to do that now. So I am going to go ahead and set the timer and see if I can give you that time. And I'm going to run the video again. If this bothers your wrists or your knees, you can definitely put padding underneath. Pillows are great. You could also do fists, but that's a little bit harder to move. Just heads up on that. And if you don't like it, skip it. You don't need it. But I like this exercise because it's good back strengthening, it's good shoulder stabilization, and it's good core activation. Okay. So we have just 2 more. And guess what? We don't have a picture we don't have a video for the next one because we're all just going to do it together. So it is standing on one leg. So I'm literally just going to stand up and put my hands above the surface. And then I'm going to stand on one leg for 10 seconds. So you may say, this is really easy, or, oh my gosh, this is harder than I expected it to be, but that's okay. If it's easy, then you can raise your hands up and down overhead. Okay, so I'm going to guess that we're at about 10 seconds and I'm going to switch to the other side. So I'm going to stand on my left leg now, and I'm just going to stand here for 10 seconds. So we often take balance for granted, which is why I wanted to put it in. Okay, if you find that this is too easy and the arms component is even too easy, you could put your hands on the surface and do a single leg heel drop. Okay, so I'm trying to give you guys options in case somebody's bored. All right, trying to think of everybody that's in the room this morning. So I'm going to do another 10 seconds on my right leg I want to do another challenge, you can do your head up and down. That is challenging for me. And then there's 10 seconds. And I'm going to do the other side. Standing on one leg, looking up and down. I promise I'm doing it. Maybe you can see my sway. All right. Okay, and the last one, we are going to go back to the PowerPoint. I am going to show the movement, but this exercise, if you're looking for something to invest in, you know, like what's a good piece of exercise equipment? I really like resistance bands. So for certain parts of the body. So if you just want to go out and buy one thing and it's resistance bands, this is a great exercise that you can do. It is called a low row. And I didn't have, I'm going to say this a different way. I have bands and I was going to share them in the video, but the exercise bench in the gym wasn't at the right height. And if I show it incorrectly, that means you guys are going to do it incorrectly. So you can see that this young woman has a TheraBand wrapped around the leg of her desk at work, okay? And what she's doing is she's standing with really good posture in the beginning, and she's taken a step back to get the resistance, okay? I'm gonna show you the movement. So you're pulling straight back and basically pinching your scapula together. Now, if you don't have resistance bands, doing it with me is perfectly fine for today. I was trying to do this with weights to see if I liked it as much, and I honestly don't. So, because what's going to happen if you're using free weights is you're going to have a tendency to come up, which I don't know if you guys have shoulder issues. It's very common, and I don't want to flare you up. So to play it safe, we're just going to pull straight back. Okay. So thank you for hanging in there with me this morning. I know that this is a little bit awkward bouncing back and forth. However, I would like it if you would walk away from today and know what to do, and you don't have to look at the video in the future. Okay. So I'm just going to do 5 more just in case. And really, this is really nice for your posture. Okay. Stand tall. You're important.
Nicole, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So when you have your arms, when you're facing us, your arms are going straight back, right? They're not, okay, straight back. Okay.
So I'm not doing that traditional row,
right,
because I'm glad that you said that, because with a traditional row, this is anecdotal, meaning my experience, I haven't done the research on it, is that our little muscles that go like this from our scapula to our spine, if this is the right scapula, and these are the muscle fibers going to the spine in the center of my body, they're very thin, they're small. Therefore, they get irritated more than other muscles. So if you were to do a ton of rows, your back might hurt. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want your back to hurt. So doing something simple like that, even without having weight, is fine. If that doesn't work for you, you could also do the framing the door, but this is more of a postural reset. So now my shoulders are in a good position. I know where I should be. Okay, so there's our low row. Okay, so stretches. So we've done the strengthening exercises. Does that mean I don't recommend bicep curls, or I don't recommend lunges? No, I love those. But I wanted to target the areas that I think are important for you. Okay. So we're going to do the neck together. All right. And if you've done the stretching, the back class with me, this is very similar to that. And so I really hope you stick around and do this, because it's very common for us to be like, I don't need to do stretches, but you really do. I promise you do. It's important for stress relief. It's important to diminish pain. We're all on our devices way more than we need to be, including myself. So go ahead and stick around and just knock them out. Okay. So I am going to bring my ear to my shoulder, and I'm going to start the timer, and I'm going to tell myself to relax. I always close my eyes when I stretch. I'm going to take a nice slow breath in. Remember that when we're stretching, we want to make sure that we hold the positions for a total of 1 minute. So we're going to do 30 seconds on both sides. So if you are that person that this bothers you, I have had a couple of participants that say, I have to do this to bring my head back up. You don't need to do the stretch, okay? You can come back up to center, everybody, you can take a rest. I really want those people to seek out a physical therapist, because I have a feeling there's something going on here and in the thoracic spine that would really benefit from being looked at. Not everything can be done in a class. Okay, we're gonna go to the other side. So we're gonna put ear straight to shoulder. Ask yourself, am I moving clean through the motion, or am I turning and rotating? So look at something straight ahead and bring that ear to your shoulder. You can bring your hands behind your back if you want to intensify that stretch a little bit. And I'm going to keep holding this stretch for another 5 seconds. Gently bring your head back to center, and we're going to go over to the other side. I do these stretches at lunch, when I'm on the computer all day. I also have a few yoga videos that I like to do, because even though I'm a PT, I definitely need that external motivation. So if you find yourself in that boat, you're not alone. Bring your head back up to the center, and we're going to go to the other side. Hang in there another 15 seconds, and then we're done stretching what I think are some important muscles of the neck that can get very tight. We're not addressing all of them. And head back up to center. Okay, so let's do some shoulder rolls to kind of give some TLC to those muscles that we just stretched. And now bear with me while we go back to the videos. Okay, so we're going to do the pec stretch, which means you're going to need to be next to a wall. Okay, be gentle with yourself while you're doing these. So you can see that I put my arm up above my shoulder level to get the pecs. That's why I'm wearing a tank top. Here you can see some of my pec muscles. And I lunge forward with one leg. And I lean forwards. It's going to play again. Stepping forwards, arm is up. Forearm must stay against the wall. It is very common for us to not do that. I take a slow, deep breath in, and then I intensify it by turning away just a little bit, okay? If this is enough for you, that's enough for you. But I'm going to let the video play. All right. So I'm going to start the video so you can do the other side, and I'm going to pause it once I'm in the position. And I'm going to do 30 seconds. Pec stretches are really important for posture, but also for those of us who may have had a lot of coughing in our lives, even if we're on medications that have changed that for you. We want to make sure that you're still doing a lot of stretching of the pec muscles, okay? Because it helps prevent those rounded shoulders, all right? So that's your 30 seconds. We're going to do one more round. Nice, gentle breaths. Don't hold your breath. The last class of the year is going to be focusing on de-stress, especially in the time of the pandemic. I know that in some places we are coming out of it, but in other or not coming out of it, things are getting better, right? We know it's not going away. However, are there some things that we can do to make our lives a little bit less stressful? All right, next we're going to go down to hands and knees again. So we're going to do cat cow. So hands and knees position to start. Okay, I'm looking to see if my hands are directly underneath my shoulders. My knees are directly underneath my hips. I may correct myself in these videos and you may be wondering what I'm doing. So we're going to be looking up, flattening or letting the abdomen drop, and then tightening, looking down, and curving our spine. Some of you may be saying, I've done cat cow a million times, Nicole. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that this one you can do 5 to 10 times, and that may be enough for you. You need to listen to your body if it's enough. And again, if you don't like this one, that's okay. So I'm gonna run the video again and give people time. Yeah, I know the transition is not simple. You're right. This transition to normal life with how crazy things are. But maybe, a little exercise, a little venting will help make it better. Okay. So that's our cat cow. Our next one is our prayer stretch. Hang in there with me. We're almost done. I thank you for sharing your time with me this morning. Prayer stretch is one of my favorites, not only to de-stress, but also to really get my back moving. So what I did is I brought my bum back down towards my feet. You have options. You can keep your arms extended forwards with emphasis or power fired up, or you can drop them down and just relax and put your head on the floor, on the mat, on the towel, and really just take nice, slow, deep breaths in, filling up your rib cage with good air. Exhaling out through your mouth is always good. If you're somebody who has secretions, you may hear them move, especially with an exhale with an open mouth. Okay. I walk my hands over, pretending like I'm the hands on a clock, going from noon to 10. Okay. So to the left. So I'm going to hold it here for what should be 2 to 3 breaths. I'm going to pause the video and let you do it. If you need a break because of the time it's taking me to talk to explain things, you can come back up and take a break. Okay, I'm going to start the video and we're going to go all the way to the other side. Walk my hands over and nice, slow, deep breaths. So I'm going to play the whole thing for you once again. Okay, so there's our prayer stretch. All right, now hamstring stretch. I love the hamstring stretch. I love doing things when we don't have to work hard. That may sound kind of strange, but I like if you can fully relax into a stretch. So I recommend taking your shoes off because you're going to put your foot on the wall. So I use this area in the gym where I could scoot up against the wall and watch what I do. So ready to go, scoot down, and I slide my foot up the wall. So this is the leg that's being stretched. If that's enough for you, great. To make this easier, you scoot away from the wall. To make it harder, you scoot towards the wall. If this doesn't feel good in your other side, keep your knee bent. Okay, so I'm going to start it from here. You can see that knee is bent, and then I straighten it. And I'm focusing on my breath. Look at where my hands are. Breathing into my hands. Oh, I felt like I could get more of a stretch, so I scooted closer to the wall. All right, so I'm going to give you time to practice that. I'll run the video again. Please do both sides, and then I'm going to check in with everybody to see how you're doing, because I know you may need a couple extra seconds. All right, so we're hitting 30 seconds. I'm going to give you additional 30 seconds to do one more. I'll leave the picture up. Keep in mind that stretching and increasing length in the muscles takes time. So I would ideally love it if you did this program all together 3 times a week, and then you walked 5 times a week. That's really what would be best, right? Then you're hitting all the target areas. But I know that there's give and take. And so I would at least do strengthening 3 times a week and get your walking in as best as you can. The cold season is here for some people, depending on where you live. And so I know I need to take that into consideration. Maybe you're not going to be out and about walking. So that is our time for that activity. We just have one more, but I know getting on and off the floor. All right, I see we're good. Now, I'm going to show you 2 ways to stretch your hip flexor. I'm going to do the standing way first because it can be a little bit more gentle. The one laying on your tummy is a little bit harder. Okay, let me start it from the beginning. Making funny faces at my camera person. So what I'm telling myself to do is drop my knee, bring it towards the other knee, and I'm driving my pelvis forwards. And if I'm making a face because I know you're like, what does that mean? So I'm trying to stand up really tall and bring my knee back. If you're that person right now that's like, no way, this isn't happening, that's okay. You can grab a belt and put it around your shoe and use that. You can use a yoga strap if your hand doesn't reach your foot. And I will show you how to do it on your stomach if you feel like that might be more comfortable for you, or if you want it to be more intense. So I'm going to set the timer to give you time to do this. I'd like you to do at least do it once on each leg. These muscles get really tight with lots of sitting. If you do any type of bicycling for exercise, these muscles get really tight as well. So they're the muscles that go from the spine to the hip joint. So some of them cross, and that's why sometimes we have some back pain, is because the muscles in the front are literally doing this to us. Okay. So go ahead and switch to the other side if you haven't already, and we'll have got an additional 30 seconds. Fifteen more seconds. Don't forget nice, slow, deep breaths. All right, and We are done with that one. Okay. And now the last one that I'm going to show you is a picture. I forgot to do it on video. I didn't realize it till last night. So the last one is the calf stretch. Calf stretching is really important with how much we're sitting around these days, but also because it's an important muscle for balance. So to go ahead and have your calf be nice and stretched is always beneficial. Hands against the wall. This is what some people call the runner stretch. You're in the runner's position. Okay. So what's really important is that the leg that is behind you, the one that's being stretched, you need to tell your heel to push down into the floor. That will intensify that stretch and make it much more effective for you. So I'd like you all to try that. We're going to do 30 seconds twice, even though the goal is for you to do this 30 seconds twice on each leg to get that 1 minute. So this is the last stretch you're going to do. If your shoulders are elevated, tell them to relax, drop them down. So now you can switch to the other side. All right, almost there. 10 more seconds. And we've hit some parts of your body that I feel like really need stretching, really need strengthening, that maybe we don't think about all the time.